Okay, good morning once again, everyone. Welcome to PG428 Foreign Policy in PNG. This is our third meeting for this semester 2 of 2026. And Mr. Ako and myself will be co-teaching this unit virtually. So we welcome all of you to our third meeting. And this third meeting will be a continuation of what we did last week. We did our first activity on selecting groups and choosing your case studies. So all of you went into 7 groups and you selected your 7 case studies. So we have locked that in, and now we'll move on with our completing the task, working on the task progressively until the end of the semester. So we listened to groups 4, 5, 6, and 7 last week. And for today, we will listen to group 3, 2, and 1. So as mentioned, I'll hand over the virtual microphone to group 3, the representative, and then after the presentation, we listen to Mr. Akwa's view on what they've said, or his analysis, and then we'll move on to the second group and the final group, which is group 1. So that's our order of proceedings. So we'll start off with group 3. Who's the representative for group 3? Group 3 is made up of Abigail, Muriel, Rosemary, Marshall, and Chinua. So the group 3 rep, please feel free to.
Yes, Mr. Ali representing group 3.
Thank you, Ms. Gabai. Go ahead.
So once again, good morning, Mr. Yegiora, Mr. Ako, and everyone. So for group 3, our case study, Border Maritime and Cybersecurity Cooperation. So our reasoning for selecting the case study, firstly, we brushed off this the topic last semester. We looked at the threats and the awareness. So Maritime, Border, and Cybersecurity Cooperation, it's in Papua New Guinea, it's more of a non-traditional security threat to the country. So, however, the biggest challenge faced by implementing agencies, stakeholders, and in charge of these important areas, because of lack of coordination, implementation, which we covered on it, this enabled us to fill in the gaps. So we chose this topic to learn more about it in terms of the implementation process and the coordination, but same time bring out strategic framework that can be implemented by the government to strengthen cross-border and cross-agency security regarding challenges Papua New Guinea face. So looking at the main problem I've mentioned, we look at coordination challenges. This highlights resources, human capacity, including scholars, expertise, and relevant human resources, also financial resources. And the second one is no proper implementation process because they're disintegrated with, around maritime, border, and cyber, including defense, police, and intelligence. So our game plan, we're looking at the strengths and weakness of key agencies and stakeholders in terms of how they effectively enforce and develop strategies. So we'll be looking at the holistic framework to approach to establish a common goal to address border, maritime, and cyber security cooperation. So the preliminary research questions: how can Papua New Guinea establish a whole government implementation? So framework to strengthen border, maritime, and cyber cooperation. Again, towards our game plan, we'll be looking at what are the strengths weakness of key agencies and stakeholders, how effective these policies and loss of relevant agencies and stakeholders. So the key agencies and stakeholders, 11 of them is listed. Department of Foreign Affairs, Department of Prime Minister and PDC, PNG Defense Force, the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary, National Intelligence Organization, Immigration and Citizenship Authority, PNG Customs Service, National Fisheries Authority, National Maritime Safety Authority, National Information and Communication Technology Authority, and lastly, provincial governments and the relevant stakeholders, Australia, Indonesia, the United States, and regional security partners. The resources will consult Foreign White Paper Policy 2025, Papua New Guinea Vision 2050, the Medium-Term Development Plan 4, sectoral policies, academic sources, think tank reports, official government documents, and reliable media sources. So a rough plan for the task. So the written report will delegate core components of the written report. So there's 13 parts to it. So among the 13 parts, we'll delegate parts to the group 3 members. And lastly, we'll also have an editor and an individual to edit and review to cross-check our written report with the marking criteria. And for our presentation, same as the written report, we will also divide among the group members to who will be responsible for important areas to cover. This includes the content of presentation and lastly to cross-check with the marking criteria. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Group 3, and thank you, Abigail, for representing your group. Mr. Ako, any comments on Group 3's presentation?
No, I think you've covered everything. Just some points I thought I'd raise here for our collaboration is you mentioned the strength and weakness of key stakeholders, which means the capacity involved with the stakeholders. And also, I think one thing we must take into account is the bilateral partnerships the stakeholders have with other bilateral partners in the same space. I mean, how effective are these? Are they fit for purpose? I mean, you look at our PNGDF's training of aircraft maintenance mechanics and pilots abroad. But then, which is fine, that's good for capacity. But then, training will finish the campaign, Bolkala Balus. How many do we have the planes that utilize them, or you might bring them back, and after a couple of years they'll go and they'll leave for other greener pastures. And is that good? Or I mean, is it defeating the whole purpose of the border maritime and security operations? If they move on to the others, and then you also have to look at the ASEAN Regional Forum, which is a very security oriented. Are we getting as much from it as we can, or is there more we can do? And then this touches onto our ASEAN membership, and whether it's still a practical requirement for us. So those are some of the thoughts I thought I'd give to support your case study.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ako. And I think, yeah, anytime, maybe this week or next week, following week, before the end of July, the July sitting of Parliament, they'll be tabling the National Security Agency bill and the updated NIO Act for approval in Parliament. So Group 3, keep an eye on the media. And once they take the bill to Parliament and when it's approved, then you follow the news and see the role that would be played by the National Security Agency, which is housed under the PMNC department. So they've already done some work. If you look at the media, they formed a joint intelligence group, JIG, and JIG is coordinating all intelligence, and then it led to the seizure of illegal chicken or illegal meat from somewhere in Asia. So keep an eye on that. The new changes that will happen in a few weeks' time, before the end of this month. So that's what I heard. They will be presenting the bill in Parliament. So that's a real major reform to our security sector. Just to add on. All right, thank you, Group 3. Now we move on to Group 2. Group 2 reps, representative.
Yes, Miss.
Fiona, go ahead.
Yes. So, good morning, Mr. Yegiora, Mr. Ako, and everyone. So, for our goal, we chose case study 2, which is PNG's multilateral engagement and ASEAN aspiration. So, why did we select this case study? Because firstly and foremost is that we do not really have relevant knowledge about this topic. So we chose it to explore and enhance our knowledge on this topic. Another thing is that because we believe that PNG can achieve more by working closely with regional and international organizations. PNG, as we all know, is already a member of organizations such as the United Nations, Pacific Island Forum, APEC, and many other international organizations. And it also aims to strengthen its engagement with ASEAN. So these organizations, they provide opportunities for PNG to promote trade, strengthen regional cooperation, improve security, and support national development. However, the case study also highlights that PNG's participation is sometimes inconsistent, under-resourced, and not always connected to our national development priorities, as stated in the case study problem. Therefore, we want to explore why this happens and how it can be improved. So as students taking this unit, we want to understand how better planning, coordination, and diplomacy can help PNG have a stronger voice internationally, while also bringing real benefits to our people at home. Yes, that's basically why we select this case study. So our game plan is to show how PNG can strengthen its multilateral engagement and move closer to its ASEAN aspirations through better coordination and planning. So first, all the group members will read through or go through PNG Foreign Policy White Paper 2025 to understand its goals for multilateral engagement and ASEAN. Second, we will identify the main challenges between responsible government engagements, such as Abigail already mentioned some, limited resources, inconsistent participation, and weak coordination, all those. Third, we will try to analyze the roles and weaknesses of the key agencies and stakeholders. Fourthly, we will propose practical strategies and recommendations to improve coordination, strengthen diplomatic capacity, ensure adequate resources, and better link PNG's international engagement with its national development priorities. Finally, we will explain how the strategies we propose can help PNG build stronger international partnerships, increase its influence in regional and global organizations, support its ASEAN aspirations, and contribute to the country's long-term development. So overall, our goal is to show not only why multilateral engagement is important, but also how PNG can implement it more effectively to achieve real benefits for the country. So to ensure successful completion of this task, what we'll do is that we'll delegate tasks among group members based on assigned responsibilities. We'll hold weekly meetings to plan the next steps and review our group's progress. We'll keep records of meetings, assign tasks, and our overall progress, and support and communicate with each other to ensure timely completion of this task. Yes, that's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Group 2, for sharing with us your game plan and for giving us a summary of your case study. Mr. Ako has his own view, and I do support Mr. Ako's view that whatever that we can do with ASEAN, we can do it within the parameters of the APEC. So I'll let him expand on that and give his commentary.
Yeah. No. You have a perfect game plan. The perfect game plan to support your the case study. You have multilateral engagements. You have to look at the pillar 2 of effective multilateralism in the foreign policy and what it says there, and then I understand that the foreign policy is just the bigger game plan. Now you have to grab from it how you yourself think that it should be done this way. I mean, work deeper. No one in this department at this floor where elsewhere will tell you that no, do it this way, because the next 50 years relies on you lot. So it's best to start putting thoughts into how you would want the foreign policy to run. Now, with for instance, with for APEC, for ASEAN and APEC, I was in a bilateral between Foreign Minister Abal and the Singaporean Foreign Minister back in 2007, I think, when Singapore hosted APEC. And then the Singaporean Foreign Minister told our Foreign Minister when that issue came up of PNG wanting full membership instead of the special observer status. And the Singapore Foreign Minister told our Foreign Minister straight up, we don't consider you ASEANs. You see? So that time I was a liaison officer, bottom of the rank. No one wants to see you, walk below, walk him coffee, go walk him on photocopies. But I kept that. I kept that because, I'm a game straight law. And then, so once he gave that, we retained, and then I started looking at the way it was and why we kept on wanting to join ASEAN. Now, when you break it down properly, ASEAN now has 11 members. I think Timor-Leste is also part of ASEAN. And a couple of weeks ago in Guangzhou, I was speaking with a couple of Indonesian officials, and they were saying that Timor-Leste is struggling to field players in the ASEAN tournament. I'll put it that way. Because with ASEAN, they have roughly about 900, nearly 1,000 meetings a year, which you must field from home, not from your embassies, which means that you must have an ASEAN secretariat back home, and also you must have an ASEAN ambassador based at the ASEAN secretariat in Jakarta, in addition to your bilateral ambassador. So if we were to join ASEAN now, we would be paying for an ASEAN ambassador in Jakarta with staff blend. And then with all those 900 or so meetings held throughout the year, you need to have an ASEAN membership in that building across the road there. You need to have an ASEAN secretariat to fund this, just like the PNG APEC secretariat. You need to have a secretariat to feed all those hundreds of meetings in a year. And even if we were to attend those from our embassies, we don't have fully staffed embassies. You'd be lucky if a PNG embassy has 3 people. Mostly it's 1 or 2. Okay. Now, for cost effectiveness purposes, and more toughness, this layer different. This layer different, and that we should take to heart. When Mr. Kariko, who was then Secretary for NGSS, Deputy Secretary with DJEG, led the delegation that was into Jakarta in December 2013, we were hosted by the Indonesian Foreign Minister, Dr. Martina Talegawa. And then he told us also, in a nice way, and talking me, you go back na talking Porman Blumi Rimbing, that this la issue ASEAN, you may losing past them. You may host him APEC past them. From APEC, then we will go ahead and look up. Now, APEC, you're looking at 250 to 280 meetings a year. ASEAN have 900. And then in APEC, right now, we have an APEC secretariat that attempts to coordinate APEC participation both internationally, and you have to come up with activities in the back home too. So that means that to become a member of international organizations, from where I see it, we must also participate fully in their activities domestically. Come up with projects and activities. If there's a WTO engagement, you come up with them just to show your commitment to that organization. For instance, with our purpose of with our intention to become a member of PEC, the Pacific Economic Cooperation Council. The PECC was formed in 1980, I think. And from the PECC, APEC came about. But because PNG is not a member of PEC, I have been instructed to secure membership for it. And the biggest requirement of all is to have a national coordinating body domestic. And when you do as soon as you establish the National PEC Steering Committee law place, then you have to go about working on programs and projects to show the PEC membership that you are on the ball with them. So it's both here and abroad, and PEC only has one meeting a year, and that's when you go and report or you collaborate to come up with projects and all that. Now, my point is that how can we effectively advance the foreign policy through the 8 pillars? If, like what Group 3 mentioned, we have capacity issues. I mean, as we are speaking, you guys, under Mr. Yegiora's leadership, are the only Papua New Guineans working on operationalizing the 8 pillars of the foreign policy. And the foreign policy was launched last year, one time, November, October, and it's nearly 6 months now, and nothing. For us, with the PNG APEC, we've commenced working on operationalizing Pillar 2, which starts into Pillar 4. But then when you look at it, ASEAN has 7 members of the ASEAN 11. It used to be ASEAN 10, but of the ASEAN 11, 7 of its big boys are members of APEC. And PNG attends APEC meetings every year, and Prime Minister meets with his APEC colleagues every year. Foreign Minister meets with his APEC colleagues every year. Trade Minister meets with APEC colleagues every year. Why would you want to waste time fighting to become a member of an organization which unless you may join? Although APEC, all of them are sitting there and you have access to them every year, 10 times a year. So if it's political, then it's political. But in ASEAN, when the foreign minister attends the ASEAN meeting, he is only invited to attend the opening and the closing ceremony. Plenary, no. So you see, do a deep dive into it. But all the agendas, all the ASEAN agenda, they talk about everything we want. But that's a comp we cannot play in because this la talk no got tambo. And only a talk finish. You know, same. So why push? we tried, the Singaporean foreign minister told us straight off, and then a couple of years later, Dr. Mati said it nicely. Go tell my mate there that the Muslim issue past them. You may host him APEC past them. So now we hosted APEC already. The Asia Pacific region knows that we can host a meeting of 300 in a year. And between 2013 all the way to 2017, 2018, PNG was full on in all the APEC activities because of 2018 coming along. Now, the teams have changed. Some have resigned. Some have gone on to newer jobs. We're in the rebuilding process again for 2033. But the good thing about the rebuilding part is that we now have a foreign policy. And the only way to ensure that these things are maintained and sustained, we need to institutionalize and operationalize those 8 pillars. And the way we are going with APEC is that right now we're in the process of writing PNG's APEC engagement strategy, which will fit under the pillar 2. So that becomes institutionalized. And when you look at it, APEC covers pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, pillar 4, most of those pillars except pillar 7. But APEC covers all those in all its working groups. So I will be very interested to see what this group comes up with. And you look at the other multilateral agencies too, MSG. What's the value add from our end, and the return on investment with PIF? How does that work? You do realize that when we attend general meetings where there are other one talks from the Pacific Island, they always defer to us first to move. And then suppose you two passing mouse, talk now, that decreases their respect of PNG as a big boy. So I'll stop there. We have 3 months to continue this topic, so I'll stop there, Mr. Yegiora. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Sorry, but I'm not saying that to discourage the group 2. I'm just saying that the group 2, you have your work cut out, because I need to maintain my stance too here. So I'll be really scrutinizing your case study.
All right, thank you. That's a good comment. So group 2, take on board or take note, and then compare that with other information that you collect during the research process. So we'll conclude with group 1, the final group. Who is the representative for group 1? Theo, okay. Theo, please go ahead.
Again, good morning, Mr. Yegiora and Mr. Ko, as well as friends. For our group number 1, we choose case study number 1, which is strategic bilateral partnership prioritization. So the reason behind why choosing this case study, we have 3 reasons. The first one is to strengthen and have a good relationship with foreign countries and our traditional partners. The second is to share common interest and support in terms of economic, social, and political affairs, as well as development. And the third is to combat global issues such as climate change or even war if we intend to have in the future, and promote peace and cooperation in the international arena. So these are the 3 reasons we have come up with of why choosing the case study number 1. To the main problem of why choosing this case study, there is a lack of strategic prioritization, or I will say unstable of PNG government in recent years due to so many partnerships and agreements formed and signed without successfully achieving the main objective, which has resulted in too many bilateral partnerships with our nations. Some not achieved our fully effective under each sector, whether it be trade, security, infrastructure, or other areas. To the preliminary research question, The question is, why do we have to strengthen strategic bilateral partnership prioritization in our nation? And why do we have to? So to the key agencies and stakeholders, the first key agency or stakeholder is the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA. The second is the Department of Prime Minister and NEC. To the third is the Department of National Planning and Monitoring. Fourth, Department of International Trade and Investment. And the fifth is Treasury, Immigration and Citizenship. And the last one is PNG Diplomatic Missions. So the sources where we will be consulting to, do our research about this case study. The sources are think tanks, Google Scholar, Law Institute, ResearchGate, channel articles, and books. So to the last point is our rough plan for completing this task. So we'll be delegating tasks to each of the members in our group, have weekly meetings to check our progress of the delegated task, and have group meetings to keep our findings updated. Thank you. So this is basically our rough plan for this task.
All right, thank you, Theo, and thank you, Group 1, for sharing with us your plan for this semester, your rough plan. And as mentioned last week, the scenario, the problem, the research question, and identification of key agencies are just guidelines there in the learning guide to guide you. So as you go along and find new information during your research, you can change, adjust, make changes to the problem and the research question and the agencies. So yeah, before I hand over the virtual microphone to Mr. Ako, I like how the Marape government have prioritized. Like Marape has repeatedly stated on the media that China for economy and Australia for security. So he has already prioritized our bilateral relations. For the economy, we look at China. So Minister Maru has advanced that, and they'll be building a new diplomatic mission in Guangzhou, and they'll try to foster more economic partnership between us and Guangdong province in particular. And then if you look at security, they've prioritized Australia. Australia is our go-to country for partner for security needs and police, defense, customs, whatever training that we need. We will turn to Australia for that. So that's interesting. And one disappointing thing is our prioritization of Israel. We prioritize Israel in the Middle East, and we built an embassy. We built, with the aid of the Israeli government. But if you look at the recent news now, it's a bit disappointing. There was a commentary by Mr. Dominic Sengi, and instead of Israel coming and building the embassy in Port Moresby, they've decided to go to Suva, and they've not reciprocated that, bilateral relations that we fostered with them. So that's a concern. So something for us to note in terms of prioritizing who we want to work with, which country, which bilateral partner. Mr. Ako, please add on your comments.
No, before I forget, that's very interesting. Now, I think one of the main reasons why Israel went to Suva, Fiji, is because of the Fijians' peacekeeping engagements in the Middle East. So that's one way of that's a soft power way of saying that, listen, you pass around Tulu here, so we'll be, you missed up. So that's how they went with. And when you look at the peacekeeping experience of the Fijians, they go over 50 years. And they have access into the British Army as well. So I'm big for something, Lord. So I think that's my view on that. Now, also going back to what Mr. Yegiora said, in terms of the economic security, you will also see that the PM also bracketed those under historical partners for security and strategic partners for economy. So that's how I'm putting through. So like what Mr. Yegiora said, the priorities have been broken up into security and trade. And then we have to determine which ones have goals and which ones are interconnected. You look at the game plan on the need to successfully progress bilateral partnerships. How do we do that? And that goes back to, I think, this type of exercises which we are doing this semester. Ever since the foreign policy was endorsed by Parliament and it came out, have any government department sat down like this and plucked out the particular pillar and this is how we will drive it? I'm not sure. No. And that has been the we are in a position now to change that. When we're in a position like 1982, when we had the foreign policy white paper on selective engagement that came out in 1981, 82, there was no strategic operationalization plans for those pillars. So in plenty all stuff now, it's just like a plan saying, okay, you go play this on. I remember it's 6 calls now, then you play kick lo rugby liga. So that's the overall game plan. You're gonna play. That's how I'm seeing it when I look back. Because 1982 we had a selective engagement, and only in 1992 we joined APEC. And from 1975, 1982 up to 1993, we were still talking about becoming a member of ASEAN. Since then, we were strong yet. And so only in 1993 when we joined APEC, and that APEC membership came about because of Prime Minister Wingti wanted to look north. So you see, so when you look at it, Prime Minister Wingti started having a political will into that foreign policy, said look north and work the Pacific under selective engagement. The bureaucrats had to plan like what we are planning now. So, which is why I'm saying we're in a better position to now operationalize this new foreign policy by breaking it up and coming up with 8 strategies. And those 8 strategies all have their plans and activities and projects below. And then you fund this all temple on top of work. Which is why I still think that foreign policy should have a project management perspective to it, because you have chunks of activities, funding, working, ticking, or come up with a project and then go. I'll give you an example, a practical example. So, one of the instructions in prep, one of the main activities or strategies of for us working towards APEC 2033 is to come up with APEC technical cooperation MOUs. So we like what Group 1 is doing. We will be assessing which APEC member economies willing to support, not because of the bilateral relations. That because of bilateral relations was part of 2018. And you may bilateral partners just come and support us host. That's happened. But now we've got a foreign policy. So under the foreign policy, we will go and see this. Okay, mate, you willing to play with us on this? We're coming up with this activity. You too, in your national development agenda, you have this. So why don't we collaborate and we make it happen for both our people? So based on that, we went about talking. So this is what happened practically. I thought that Peru would be a good APEC partner. So we wrote up the case study, put my arguments, and I went and pitched the idea to Chief Secretary. I said, Chief, I think we should have an APEC MOU with Peru, simply because Peru is hosting in 2034. The UMIPA hosted 2033. So in APEC, there are legacy issues which you bring across, and also the chairmanships of certain committees, chairmanships of certain committees, like for us, in 2030, 2033, we will be chairing what they call the SOM Steering Group on Ecotech, Economic Technology. We'll be chairing that for Peru in our year. Now, once we go into 2034, Peru's year, we will be chairing the Budget Management Committee, BMC, in their year. While in our year, Peru will be chairing the SCE in preparation for their year. So, but I wanted to have an engagement with Peru simply because Peru is hosting APEC for the 4th time in 2034. How did they go about to host the 4th time? Because when they joined, they even joined after us. So I needed to find out how they went about and did it. And I realized that they went about in a collaborative way one time, private sector and their government and the policy people. How they did it? They went in 2008 when they first hosted. They started like us 2018. They just hosted, and they saw the parameters. And then in 2014, in 2014, I think I can't remember. But in 2014, when they hosted again, or 2016 was Chile. No, 2016 when they hosted, they started balancing their domestic economic priorities with the APEC agenda. And then they started writing policy papers to support that with a plan, without us knowing, with a plan that in 2024, when 2024, when they hosted for the 3rd time, they will have 22 FTAs, free trade agreements. They will have converting from informal to formal economy paper for APEC. And this policy paper supported their domestic priorities. So now, and then their practical deliverable was the construction of the Chankay port. They have a gigantic port called Chankay, and that port now cuts down their shipping time to Asia for their exports by 10 days. And that port caters for Colombia, Chile, and Brazil. Shipload. You can imagine them or coins or cloxime. And through that huge port, they are now exporting 90% of their products, which means that 90% of the farmers in their country are more go to. So when I was, honestly, Mr. Yegiora can laugh at me, and funny, sound funny, but true. When I was talking with my Peruvian mates, I was saying, now, Mipral farmer pressure, Mipral host every year. What hosting? Why wait until 2034? Let's host again every year. Because all looking benefit. And what they did with their 2024 Peru agenda was Peru for the people. And they brought in the Samsungs, the Microsoft, the Visa cards, the YouTube channel, the Danish. They brought all those people in, and they went about doing outreach for APEC in line with their whatever. So those huge multinational companies provided about 15,000 scholarships, the same amount of startups, and that port provided 15,000 actual jobs and 60,000 indirect, because the supply chains goes for farmers and caterers put in work. So for us, what is our Chankay port? The Miasimol Mangilo, all hide him. But you can read between the lines, they took a national effort to join everything. So, okay. So this is how I did it. I wrote up the concept, I pitched it, I was given up, and I brought it down to Canberra. I brought it down to Canberra in April. On April the 1st, I had a meeting with the Peruvian ambassador. And that's our thoughts. What do you think? And then the Peruvians were already informed already. So I had a Zoom meeting with all Bikla Boys Lima on how this would happen and how MIPA will look at 2033, blah, 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 blah. They got the MOU, all Karim go back. In May, during SOM 2, they brought their comments that they agree, but all changes about something. So the thing is now within our system, and we're looking forward to PM and the Peruvian president signing in November during the leaders. Now, that is how a bilateral arrangement works. I think. Because once or sign in now, come back now, and game plan. Then we come back, sit down, and start planning now. What are the joint activities? Agriculture, Peru has more than what? 30,000, 40,000 species of cow. Well, also something about work now. Okay, that MOU kicks it off. From MOU, you come up with a trade arrangement, you come up with a comprehensive economic, all the thing opens the way. And all it needs is for you to sit down like what you're doing in your case study group, write out the plan, go pitch him, fly, go now, Salim. So that is our things which we will learn as we go along here. So the game planning, we need to successfully progress bilateral partnership through that Peruvian example. The trade, why bilateral relations? You ask why bilateral relations? Well, in 1975, our leaders went out to hundreds of countries, telling them that we are a country now, so let's be friends. So then they signed up bilateral relations and all that. And as you, from the readings Mr. Yegiora will give you will realize that everybody needs friends. Even the huge superpowers, they need friends to support them drive policy agendas in multilateral organizations like the UN and W. They need friends. Even small friends are very, very important. Okay, and yeah, so those are some practical experience I can give to you at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. I was laughing because in the morning I watched that video by the opposition leader about KK, the Win Bagri Daki case. They said KK man, and they strongly emphasized on the word KK man. All right, but thank you, Mr. Ako. Thank you, Group 1, 2, and Group 3, your representatives for sharing with us your game plan and your summary of your case study, and Mr. Ako for his insight. I now open the floor for questions, comments. We have roughly 10 minutes. This is our first activity, and the second one will be this Friday on our topic. I believe I've sent a link to all of you already. So floor is open for questions, comments from us. Yeah, Theo, go ahead.
I have one question to Mr. Ako. Referring back to the best foreign policy that we have, did that foreign officers did any review or evaluate the foreign policy? And then based on your experience again, for the current foreign policy that we have, what is your suggestion for the span that we should review the policy?
That's very important. Me and Mr. Yegiora, maybe last year we came up with the midterm review date already. when the foreign policy was being talked about, and when the time came, we already said the midterm review in about 10 years' time or something. I think, but 10 years is a good time. It's a good time for you to look back and then review it and look forward. And then if you go to my LinkedIn, well, like I said, I'll post the link on the with Mr. Yegiora. He will share it on my InFocus talk with MTV on that foreign policy thing. You need to review it. When we when the 1982 white paper came out, in between there were small reviews that were happening, But from my own point of view, I think that those reviews, when they happen, they set the reports up to cabinet, and for some reason, due to the political climate, then they never got endorsed. But the point was that no one did anything about them in the department, if I can recall correctly. Because I mean, by then we were still junior officers, so I don't know how our bosses were running. But when I look back, and when you look at the scenario we have now, and our place at the moment, I don't think much was done. There were only talks on high level, but lo calm down, lo tamblo, lo desk officer na Karim kisim approval na karimon pla idea golo not pla embassy, come up. Because if those ideas had come up, we would have come up with joint projects and joint corporations. You look at the sister city relations process. Nothing much has happened. You look at our sister city with some of the Chinese cities. We only allowed them to come like Mr. Eko, is it Junchai or Junchao? Up in Goroka, ASEAN Highlands, or Mushroom Line. But that's one way. And the other way also, what have we done? How did we progress our end of the bargain to also benefit from such arrangements? So a good time to review will be 10 years. And the review will happen on the results. The review will be based on the results of the case study, because my idea is for at the end of this semester, those case studies have to be provided in compiled into a policy submission or something and written straight to Chief Secretary saying, this is from the Divine Word team based on this. It would be really nice to showcase the fourth year students coming up with a policy review or policy undertaking to support this. To put some people to shame too.
Thank you, Theo, and thank you, Mr. Ako. Any more questions, comments? Yes, feel free to unmute and share your comment or question with us. Marcel, go ahead.
Once again, good morning, Mr. Ako and Mr. Yegiora. Sorry, my question is not on, today's activity, but it's about the weekly lesson. So, like, if we happen to, like, do the activity and then along the way we face some technical issues like student net outage and all those stuff, can we redo that activity? Or?
Oh yeah, if you see there's a message on the announcement forum that the first lesson is open this week from Monday to Sunday. So those who experience technical issues with lesson 2, I'll open it for you to redo next week, week 3. Yeah. So I have to wait for the others to complete by Sunday and then open it up for you to do it again. Yeah. So it will be the next following week. So for example, lesson 2, if you have technical issues this week, I'll open it next week, week 3 for the same period, Monday to Sunday, and 2 hours in between. I'll do the activity. The important thing is you go back and do it again. So it's a lesson and there are concepts, theories, and it flows from one lesson to another. So it's important that if you miss out, to do it again, but then we have to wait for the process. Everyone complete theirs on Sunday and then I'll open it again. So that means if you did it the first time and want to do it again, that's up to you. It's up to you. For those who completed it successfully, but they want to just do it again for the purpose of learning.
Thank you very much.
All right, welcome. Anybody else with a question or comment? We have 4 minutes remaining.
Yes,
I'll
please.
use bus.
Oh yeah, Fiona. Okay, we go to Fiona and then Theo.
Yes, I noticed on Friday we're gonna work on our foreign policy. Yeah, the foreign policy 2025, but it's not on the required reading. So I was wondering if nuguti patoksa and miss Kipim naminare mo.
It should be in the reading folder. The
Standalone.
policy. Okay. What about last semester? It's in the reading folder from last semester. If you download it, then I think all of you still have access to the unit or not. Okay, let me just check again. If there is the case, then I'll upload it again into the reading folder for PG428. But thank you for mentioning that. Okay, yes. All right. Then I'll upload it. I'll upload the. It's in the security reading folder, but I'll upload it again in the required reading folder for this week. This unit, sorry. All right. Thank you, Fiona. Theo.
My second question goes back to Mr. Ako again. That is in relation to production. So now we are into more or less like a business type. My question is, do our government have the potential to do mass production of food overseas? And if yes, what is the reason not having such?
You want us to buy farms overseas and do food products in there? Or
Export.
okay, I think it's to do with economics. To do with economics, and it's also to do with my understanding of free trade agreements, which we would like very much to have, but most of the things, most of the requirements on our side are yet to be fulfilled, or we don't have the capacity to fulfill it. I mean, we don't have that many food labs around the country to check in all something. For instance, one of the reasons why we are unable to export this much tons of tapioca, cacao, yam go down to Australia for the Australian market is simply for the fact that according to the late Sydney Suma, who was briefing us, he said, because we have more than 200 insect diseases in our food, which must be eradicated before we meet the Australian quarantine standards lokarim goran. Now, one of the reasons why the Polynesians are flooding the Australian market with the yams, nataro, and all cacao is simply for the fact that they only have less than a handful of insects. Lord deal one time. And the other point is supply and demand. There's thousands of Polynesians in Australia who will eat all those yams now something with Yumioclosalimbo, oloclosalim Let me tell you, if any of you have ever gone down to Australia, or if you ever gone down to Australia, the first thing by you can buy one. By go find him a restaurant got yam na kauko, or by go find him KFC. That's one of the issues too. That's all. Mr. Yegiora.
All right. Thank you, Theo, and thank you, Mr. Ako. And it's 11:31, so that brings us to the end of our session for today. We'll meet again on Friday for our second activity and for more discussions. Thank you, Mr. Ako, for your time, and thank you for joining us and sharing with us your experience and knowledge in relation to
Thank
foreign
you,
policy.
Olgeta. Go school
I
good.
hope, no. That's a good advice from Mr. Ako. It's Friday, so Monday, so it's I'm still dreaming of Friday. It's Monday, so you start off the week positively, and we'll see you again on Friday. Check your email and our announcement forum for details about the activity on Friday. All right. That's all. Thank you, everyone. You all have a great day.